Hey folks, this is Matt once again, and welcome back to another video. And this time I'm reviewing Exterminator 2 from 1984 film. It's part of this 4-pack by Shell Factory, which has Cyclone, Alienator, Eye of the Tiger, and of course Exterminator 2. And of course we got this, it was broken. The disc works, it's just the thing is broken to hold them in. But Exterminator 2 is on there with Eye of the Tiger. Eye of the Tiger I liked with Gary Busey and Yaphet Kotto. The other two, these were pretty lame movies, but I'm glad to have Eye of the Tiger. I think I used to have it, but I don't know what happened to it. I think I gave it to a friend of mine. But I'm like, you know what? And I actually watched it again. I liked it. I'll review one day down the road, but not anytime soon. But I wanted to talk about this film, Exterminator 2, because watching it again, I know it had a lot of production problems, but I liked it. It was the one I saw when I was a kid. Had not seen it in forever. Again, I know I had a lot of production problems, which I'll get into. But and this is the only one on this DVD that actually has features, as a commentary with director Mark Buntzman and actor Mario Van Peebles. The first Exterminator, since I reviewed that, I figured why not review the sequel? And I don't like the first Exterminator. I ranted on it. I know there were people who disagreed, and that's fine. And they were nice about it, but there was a couple other people who were kind of assholes about it. Like, oh, you don't like this? You don't like one of the best vigilante films ever? And I'm like, I'm sorry. I would prefer Eye of the Tiger with Gary Busey. I prefer Man on Fire with Denzel. I prefer Vigilante with Robert Forster. I prefer Death Sentence with Kevin Bacon. I prefer some of the Death Wish films. Yes, I would even... I'm not the biggest fan of Savage Streets, but maybe that's a film I need to give another look one day if I ever pick it up. But I can remember thinking even that film is better than fucking the first Exterminator, class of 1984. In a way, it becomes a vigilante film. In a way, revenge. Maybe not quite a vigilante film, but still, even that revenge type of thing, class of 1984 is a much better movie than the first Exterminator. The first Exterminator I thought was boring. I thought was pretty... had subplots that were not interesting, including Christopher George's cop character and his romance with this nurse. And then it had a piss-poor ending where Christopher George dies, and the FBI or CIA or KFC or fucking WCW officials fucking kill Christopher George's character, shoot Robert Ginty. He falls off into the ocean, climbs out, he's by the Statue of Liberty, and a shitty song plays, and that's how the big finale of your movie. And I'm like, wow, this is really fucking lame. I don't mind Robert Ginty. I don't mind Steve James. I don't mind the scene where the guy's hanging and goes in the meat grinder. I don't mind some scenes like there's a scene in a massage parlor where Robert Ginty fucks a guy up. But a handful of scenes, the rest of the movie I thought had boring subplots, and I thought it dragged. Exterminator 2, though, is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. But I liked it. I had more fun. I had a lot more fun with this one than the first film. I thought the first film was fucking lame and a bit overrated. Exterminator 2, I think, is underrated, because I didn't realize this gets a 3.7 on IMDb. I went a 3.7? 3.7? This film is not that fucking bad. Is it perfect? No. Can you tell there were problems behind the scenes? Yes, which I'll get into. Well, I guess I can get into now. Like, the director on there, Mark Buntzman, he was the first director. I think he was a producer on the first movie. And then you had another... Pretty much, the director came in and he... there was budget problems, and they weren't pleased with the original rough cut, so they hired this guy named William Sachs to do extensive reshoots in Los Angeles to make the movie, quote, better. And this is what the director says. He was the one who came up with the idea of Exterminator wearing the flame-proof mask throughout the movie. Robert Ginty was supposed to be doing another movie, and they wouldn't release him. I said, I'll fix it so you don't need him. I couldn't get any other stars, so that's where I came up with the idea. There's one shot of Ginty with the welding mask working on the garbage truck, and he lifts his mask and has a little torch. so I just used that shot at the end. I turned him into a vigilante with a welding mask for the whole rest of the movie. They started shooting in New York, and they went so far over budget that they moved it to LA. They spent double their budget. It was supposed to be 1.5 million, and they got to 3 million, and they shot like 40 minutes. I've been working on the movie in New York as a co-producer, so I brought it to LA and had to ship the garbage truck from New York because the ones in New York are metal and the ones in LA are fiberglass because of the weight restrictions. We got permission. We have scenes where the truck goes around the corner of one street in New York and the others in LA. He also mentions that production's initial struggles were probably due to Buntzman's inexperience handling a large film crew, pretty much going that if you can't make a decision, everyone starts giving you their 2 cents until it's a committee. And then the MPA made Sachs cut down a gory early scene in which an elderly couple was shot up by the gang. And then it has a whole list on Wikipedia, original cut reshoots and deleted scenes. Like, if you watch the trailer to this film, there's stuff in the trailer that's not in the movie. For example, there's a scene where Robert Ginty, his character, pretty much, there's a point where the gang blows up a helicopter. And when it came down, it fucked up this nightclub. And in the trailer, you see Robert Ginty's hurt, and he's holding a leg of someone who's bleeding out, and he's looking at a girl. And then there's a scene in the trailer where he's outside and is probably during the same scene where his head's a little bit bleeding and he's face to face with Mario Van Peebles' character of X. And there's a couple other little scenes. So, Grant, I would be interested in checking out the original cut to see what the deal was, but maybe it'd be better. Or maybe like Albert Pujols' fucking Cyborg cut. His director's cut, which was a piece of shit, because the director's cut of Cyborg, I love Van Damme's Cyborg, but the director's cut sucks because it cuts out action, it cuts out blood, the good bit of the ending was cut, his version of the ending, Albert Pujols, was shitty, it was pretentious, it was like a fucking pretentious art film with fucking monologues everywhere. Albert Pujols did a shitty job. Van Damme and Shelley Lettich saved that fucking movie, in my opinion. And I remember seeing back in the day, and I think it's on YouTube. I don't know. I believe it's on YouTube. There was a making of from back in the day, which I don't know why that's not on here. Why you couldn't just put that on there? I don't know if it's rights or something like that. But that would have been nice to see this on here. Probably would have been better than the commentary track, because the commentary, I know it's 10 minutes. I haven't gotten to the movie, but just giving some info before I talk about my thoughts on it. The commentary sucks. I know my friend Effrey, he had this. Not this specific one. He had a copy because I think he's a fan of Exterminator 2. And he talked about how the commentary was lame. And I thought it's pretty lame as well. Once in a while, Mark Van Peebles said something that I thought got a chuckle out of. But the director is the original director. And yeah, this other guy who came in or was hired to reshoot stuff, film additional scenes, that is never brought up. Like, the way this director talks, it talks like he made the whole entire film. And that there wasn't a guy who shot this and reshot that and did this and did that. William Sachs' name is never mentioned. Any of the stuff that was cut out was never mentioned. I don't know why. I don't know what the fuck the deal is. Not mentioned by anybody. And I could have sworn I heard that there was a moderator at the beginning of this. But either I was mistaken or that motherfucker disappears. Maybe he was kicked out of the room, or maybe I was hearing voices. Other than those two, I heard like a voice wishing, maybe it's a voice I heard in my head, wishing that there was a moderator who could, get some information. Make me a fucking moderator. I would ask these questions. Like, hey, how come on the trailer is this? And, hey, who's this William Sachs guy? And, hey, how come you were let go? And, what didn't the studio like in your first cut? And, was the film less action-packed, more action-packed? Because when you watch the film, again, like I was mentioning, pretty much any time where you see the guy with a flamethrower, which I know in the poster of the first movie had a guy, with a flamethrower on the cover. Although this is a more badass looking cover than the first movie. The first movie, the poster, the guy looked like a guy from an S&M bar, to be honest, the poster of the first movie. But this is a badass poster. But it's a lame commentary, And then even the second half, there's a lot of silence. And I'm like, were they fucking cut out? Did they talk about the shit that was cut out? But at the same time, why the fuck were they even... They were, at least they weren't trashing the movie. They seemed kind of proud of the movie. But I'm like, fuck, man. Get some fucking info on it. Sure, down the William Sachs guy. Looks like he would be willing to talk. Get him to talk about it. Or I'd rather just have that making of from back in the day on there instead of this commentary. But it's nice to have the film. And it's in widescreen. And watching the film again, I don't think it deserves a 3.7. I'm sorry, I disagree with that. And right off the bat, before I go in depth on the film, why do I like this better than the first film? Because I know that's going to be a question I get asked. Well, the first question is, it's okay if you like the first film, but why do you like the first film? That's not a knock against anyone. I don't understand the appeal of the first movie. Steve James, Robert Ginty, I don't mind, but it really pulls away from him to Christopher Jordan's character, who is not that interesting, who seems fucking useless and pointless in the movie, and concerning the crappy third act, he is pretty pointless and useless and not that interesting of a subplot. Exterminator 2, I don't know, I forget the running time of the first movie, but this one seemed to went at a better pace. Music-wise, I don't remember a goddamn bit of the music in the first film, except there was a shitty song at the end. I really like the score in this. I know there's people who disagree who thought it was ridiculous. I love the music in this. I can remember the music in this, whether it be the beginning and then, whether it be kind of sounds like almost like a horror film. Da 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 dum bum. Do 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 ba da da bum bum. Or the more action. Do 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 bum 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 bum. Almost like a badass video game. Which in a way, that's almost like... I think there was a comment or two I read on the internet. Someone mentions it is kind of like a video game. Which, hey, I think that's a compliment more than anything. And that's what I mean. I think, like, the music I remember, not to be off track, the music I remember, you know, whether it be the more creepy sounding one or more the I can't remember a fucking bit of music. I remember hating it. But here I can remember the music. So I think the music is better. I like listening to it. I think it fits the film. It's fun. I think the villain is better. Who is the villain in The Exterminator? I mean, there's guys who fucked up Steve James, but then Robert Ginty gets them, and it's pretty anticlimactic. He, like, finds them very quick, like, in 10 seconds, and then fucks them up, and I'm like, wait, are they dead? It was really anticlimactic. Here, I know who the villain is. And it's a much more memorable villain. Mario Van Peebles as X. I think Mario Van Peebles did a good job as X. And I know Mario Van Peebles, he seems proud of it because it was, like, the first big role he got. And he got to play the villain. He had fun playing it. So, the first film, can't remember any of the fucking music, so it's either not memorable, and I remember there was a shitty song at the end. Here, much better music in my opinion. I think the music is memorable. I can actually remember it right now. I can hum it. I can hear it in my head. The villain, there's not really a villain in the first Exterminator, at least not one that you remember. I mean, there wasn't really a central villain. What, those faceless CIA, FBI, KFC guys, where the fuck they worked for? Here, there is a good villain. There's a villain, Mario Van Peebles, in this game. And like one of the guys is actually Arye Gross, who has been in a couple films like House 2 and among other films. And, you know, there's a few other people. I think even John Turturro is in here in a tiny role, but I didn't know which scene he was in. I want to get his name right. There's another actor in this who I thought did a good job. He's famous for the character of Barney in The Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal. Frankie Faison, I liked him. I thought he did a good job as the buddy of Robert Ginty. Robert Ginty, granted, if you watch the film, he's not really in this film a lot either. But at least I think it's his character is in it more. Just maybe not really him, but at least his character. I mean, right off the get-go, I like the way this opens is why this is my kind of movie. These asshole gang members, they fuck up this old couple, and like I was reading there, it was a bit more violent because you could tell there was a lot more bullet hits on the old man, and you see like one bullet go in. I think you hear a couple more, but it looks bad. There's like 4 or 5 bullets. So you say, well, yeah, continuity, but that's a lot of movies, unfortunately, that happens to. But the first bloodhead, oh, cool, practical squib. And they come out, and there's the Exterminator in a badass outfit fucking people up with a flamethrower. Fucks up 2 people up with a flamethrower, and cops come and find these burned corpses. I'm like, yeah, that's a way to open. I like the way the music it happens. Da-da-da-bum, bum. Or I like the soundtrack to this. And I didn't get bored. I think it's a cool idea that the guy added the flamethrower sequences, because hey, sometimes I'm easy to please. Get a motherfucker in a flamethrower. There's not enough flamethrower shit nowadays. I know there was one in that movie Silent Night, and like one scene where the killer or such uses it. But we need more flamethrower shit, especially good guys. Get some good guys using flamethrowers. Stallone, if you don't do another fucking Rambo film, get him to use a goddamn flamethrower or something. Shit. If you don't fuck these guys up, I think it's cool. It makes it different. He's using a flamethrower. Cool. Instead of just a typical pistol or typical, gun. A flamethrower. Cool. Burn them motherfuckers to crispy critters. And then I like Marvin Peebles' ex character and his group of like punks. And giving these speeches about anarchy. And there's a scene where they grab this guy. And granted, I think the scene goes on a little too long. Where they grab this guard. The scene goes on a little too long, but they set him up and they electrocute. They set him up on the subway, and they actually live in the subway, and they set him up, and when the subway car passes, the guy gets fried. And I like some of the editing in this, and I think the editing is more to do with the reshoots and cuts, because there's a lot of times where it's not Robert Ginty, it's a double. Although I thought they did it well, I couldn't tell. Hell, when I first saw this back in the day, I couldn't tell. So I think it works out fine. And you have little scenes of Robert Ginty with this girl who's a dancer at this club that he likes. And then you have the bad guys fucking people up. They fuck up this armored car, and they blow up this chopper. And you see that guy is burning alive in the chopper, and I thought the effect was pretty decent. I'm guessing that when that chopper, those scenes with the chopper, the stuff that was deleted that you see in the trailer with the nightclub, I don't know why that scene would have been deleted. I mean, an action sequence? I'm not sure. Maybe with the stuff that they had to shoot more of, or they had to insert, it wouldn't fit, but again, that would have been nice to hear if you actually asked them on the fucking commentary track. If there wasn't a moderator, get a fucking moderator. If there was, why was he... I don't think there was a moderator. If there was, he was in it for 10 seconds. But get a fucking moderator. Ask some questions. Why was it cut out? But it's nice, every once in a while you have Robert Ginty's character come out. And again, that's probably not Robert Ginty himself. So I'd be curious to see what all the other stuff that he shot, what sequences he shot, and that maybe they didn't get put into the film. It would have been nice to find deleted scenes and put them on there in the deleted scenes reel. But hey, what do I know? But at the same time, I like... If in order to have that, I have to sacrifice seeing a badass looking motherfucker with a flamethrower, I'll take the badass looking motherfucker with a flamethrower. You know, he's fucking up a guy, torches his ass off a fucking tree. Uh, and you did a little bit of stuff with Robert Ginty and his buddy Frankie Faison, who has this garbage truck. He's a garbage man. You have an appearance with this like big guy who Robert Ginty gives his watch to, and I think it's the guy who voiced the big, Audrey and Little Shop of Horrors. I could be wrong. And I thought the bad guys did fine. Like, this girl gets kidnapped just so that Robert Van Peebles can test his drug on her to see if it works well. I think that's a fucked up idea. And you get a little bit of the love story. Robert Ginty and this chick go in this club with Frankie Faison. They go home, have a love scene. But then, in the midst of it, there's a Frankie Faison with the garbage truck had tried to fuck up some of the guys when that chopper got blown up. And bad guys see the truck, and they didn't realize that Robert Ginty wasn't the one that was driving it. It was Frankie Faison, but Frankie Faison gave him the truck. So they followed him to where he was, Robert Ginty and his woman, and then when they're in this park, the bad guys, first off, you get some nice break dancing, and some good-looking break dancing from some people in the park, which is totally 80s, which I'm fine with. And the bad guys come in, one does like this super leap with this bat and fucks up her legs, and they just beat the shit out of her so that she's in a wheelchair. And Robert Ginty's trying to help, and Robert Ginty does fine. But she doesn't want any help, and he tries to help. She wants him to leave. In the midst of that, he flamethrows some more motherfuckers. Later on, they get the garbage truck. They put like a big snow plow in front of it, which is pretty cool. And they find some thugs and fuck them up, and get one. He's like, "No, I'm not crazy. I'm mad. You hear me? I'm mad." Stuff him in, and they steer the shit out of him by threatening to crush his ass. They try to give him some information. They find out there's this drug deal going at this pier. They come in, they bust in, overturning cars and things blowing up, and Frankie Faison gets greedy. There's a bag of money. He gets shot for his troubles. Nice bullet squibs. Even Robert Ginty gets out of there and throws some grenades, fucks up a car behind him. And I believe in the original cut that the girl who's in the wheelchair, she actually shows up at the end of the film and helps kill the bad guy. But the way they did it here, I actually liked how they did it here better. Instead of a girl that somehow got there in the fucking wheelchair, was it going to be like the girl in Steel who has fucking machine guns? And shit, Steel with fucking Shaquille O'Neal. But you tell, like, knowing the history, I could tell this is how it was done. But I like the way it was edited. And that's because they had to do it. But where you don't see Robert Ginty's face, so it's like me thinking, okay, that's a double. Again, just because I heard the history. If I didn't know any of the history, I would not have known about this. Okay, that's a double. He's trying to call his woman. He runs up, and then it cuts to another woman who's another double with an X on her naked body, and she's been killed, maybe raped. And so apparently in the original cut, the girl didn't die and none of that happened, but here they kill her off. Because I think in the original ending, there was a fisticuffs between Robert Ginty and Mark Van Peebles. But I like the way, Grant, I think you can maybe find that in a little bit of the making of. But I like the way it's done in this movie. I'll get to why I liked it. And I just thought it was nice editing. Like, up close to Robert Ginty's eyes, really cut back to this woman on this bed, and I don't know, it just makes it more raw, makes it go, oh shit, this girl got fucked up, and makes you really hate the bad guys, makes you feel sorry for Robert Ginty, makes you really want these guys to pay. And he pimps out the garbage truck, puts all these fucking machine guns, releases the assholes so he can go tell, and they come back, fucks them all up with machine guns, and they don't do this nowadays. They would never do this nowadays because it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic. How could he build this? It's a fucking movie and it's fun. That's why. I like that it's a motherfucker who did some A-team shit, but it's a exploitation style, so you can have all these guns and pulls a handle, pulls this, fucks these guys up, and then he gets on top. The character has a flamethrower, fries all these motherfuckers, and then has a little bit of one-on-one cat and mouse with Mario Van Peebles' character. I like the fact that it's a one-on-one where the hero has a fucking flamethrower, and he's flamethrowing Mario Van Peebles. He's getting out of the way, and that's pretty dangerous because that's a real flamethrower. You could get your ass fucked up by that. And I like the way Mario Van Peebles' character gets it. He gets it because of his own greed. Where the guy, Robert Ginty's character, sets up a trap. And Mario Van Peebles opens the bag up because he wants his drugs. And after this long cat and mouse, and he's like found blood, and Mario Van Peebles does this. And he opens it up, and his ass gets blown up, and you see his body fly out in flames, and his dead body impales. And so, again, I like the way it's edited. Again, probably because of what was going on in production, they needed to edit this. But I like the way it's done. I think it looks cool. This editing, plus I like the music, where it cuts really back to Robert Ginty. The only time you see him lift up his face and it's him under the mask, that was probably the only one he did of that. And it cuts really quick back and forth to this nasty looking burnt corpse impaled on this big fucking spike. And I like the way it was done. I like the way it was. I thought it looked cool. I thought, wow, that's a good comeuppance. The motherfucker gets blown up to shit. And one thing I thought was nice in the commentary, I heard that apparently this director, the original director, I believe a neighbor of his was Sage Stallone, Sylvester Stallone's son, which Sage Stallone may rest in peace. But apparently he was a big fan of this, and he actually had like a t-shirt of Exterminator 2, which I think that was pretty cool. And I love the way the last shot is. This don't sound weird, but the last shot of this movie I thought was extremely badass. Again, it was probably done with a double. But again, if I didn't know that, I mean, if you didn't tell me that, this whole backstory, I would never have known. I still wouldn't guess. I still think they did a fine job with that. But the way I love the last shot. Awesome shot at the end where you just see this light at the end of the tunnel. And you see a dark figure from up here just walking down this tunnel. You just see his silhouette. And you get that really creepy music, and you just have, the tunnel is like this in white, and you just see red of the credits with that creepy score. Boom, boom. Da-da-da-dum, dum. And like sets down his, flamethrower, and he walks off in the distance, and then it actually freezes. Like it freezes here, and then the camera like pushes back, like if the silhouette freezes, but it pushes back, and the whole thing gets smaller and smaller. And I don't know how to describe it, but I just thought it was really that's an iconic shot. I know that may be, you're putting it over too much, but that last shot I thought was really iconic shot. That's a really badass way to end your movie, again, with the score. And again, is this a fantastic movie? No. It doesn't have wall-to-wall action. Pretty much the only action until the ending is, him, in that getup, flame throwing some motherfuckers. Of course, there's really not much action in the first movie either. But this one I thought actually had a villain. And I like Mario Van Peebles as the villain. I like the score. I like some of the other actors like Frankie Faison. Um, Robert Ginty I thought did fine in the acting department. I still, even though it's not wall-to-wall action, I still feel like there's more action in this than in the first movie. Now, maybe because this was a shorter film, because without the end credits, it's probably 82 minutes long, or 84 minutes long, without the end credits. And, a friend of mine once mentioned that, it's a film you like when you sit around and watch the end credits, and I did just listen to the music, and I think it's a fun movie. I think Robert Ginty does fine. I think the fact that this actually has a villain, it doesn't have tons of subplots. It's bullshit with CIA guys and some bullshit cop guy with his fucking nerves that you don't give a fuck about. Here's Robert Ginty, here's the bad guy. Here's Robert Ginty, here's the bad guy. Here's a motherfucker who's not Robert Ginty, but it's his character and a flamethrower get up. This badass get up flamethrower motherfuckers. And either way, it was a canon film, so I knew it was a low-budget film. But I don't know, I feel more of a grindhouse feeling in this than I did with the first film, to be perfectly honest. And I know technically there's two directors, but I thought they did fine. I liked some of the editing. Again, that was probably because they had to, explain stuff in a limited amount of time, which I think works with the pacing of the film. The fact that I think this has a better villain than the first film, it has an actual villain. I think it has a better music score than the first film. Doesn't have any stupid songs. These songs that annoy me like in the first film. Robert Ginty's character, maybe not himself in his face, but I felt his character more in the first film. The scenes with him and the flamethrower, I think, are stuff I remember when I was a kid. And I haven't seen this film in at least a decade. So it must have been something, if I can remember, from over a decade ago, probably 2 decades ago, to be honest. It probably really has been since I was a kid, so decades. I would not be surprised the last time I saw this was like when I was 11 or 12 or 13 or something. So, more than 10 years. And I still remember those scenes with him with the flamethrower. And it might not seem much today, but sometimes little stuff goes a long way for me. And that is really cool artwork, by the way. That's really cool artwork. Try to put that for the cover on this. But I like the film. Again, it's not perfect. It's not wall-to-wall action. The love story is not much to run home about. There's little stuff that you can tell that, there were problems in production. Like, for example, I mentioned how Robert Ginty, his character, the flamethrower stuff was shot after. So once in a while you wonder, well, how the hell did Robert Ginty's character get there? Like, for example, he kills this guy in a tree, which you find out is actually Mark Van Peebles' brother, his character. The stuff happens, and then there's Robert Ginty's character with the mask on and the flamethrower fucking this guy up in a tree. I'm like, how did he get there? Like, how did he know the bad guys were there? I know there's a scene where he has like a radio for the police scanner, but I don't think the police knew that the bad guys were there, so how the hell did Robert Ginty know he was there? Did he teleport there? Did he use, osmosis, psychic ability, and go, okay, I'm going here? Did he use the Jason Voorhees technique, especially from Jason Takes Manhattan? Whew, boom, fucked up a guy in a tree. So yeah, that's what I give you that. I'll give you that. I get that. And that was because that stuff was shot after, which makes me wonder, well, how was it originally that guy died? Did Robert Ginty just shoot him in the head? Did he just punch him in the face? What did he do? That's why I would like to hear the story behind that or see the footage. Who knows? Maybe it would be a better movie. Maybe not. But I would like to see it. I'd be curious about it. So yeah, there's some logic leaps, and the love story isn't the most interesting. But for me, there's a lot more stuff I like than dislike. Robert Ginty doesn't do a bad job. Neither does Frankie Faison or Mario Van Peebles. I thought they all did fine. Really liked the score. I liked the pacing of the film. I didn't get bored. I liked the flamethrower sequences. I love the get-up. I enjoyed the third act. Him, you know, having that big garbage truck with the snow plows and the machine guns fucking everyone up, and then fucking people up with the flamethrower. I thought Mario Van Peebles got a good death scene, getting his ass blown out, the body in flames, and then also get impaled. His burnt corpse is impaled. I thought the way it looked was pretty cool. I love the last shot of the movie. I can still remember in my head, which that says something. Um, and I just like the way the score was. I had fun with the movie. I think it's an imperfect movie, but there's a, people say there's probably problems in Cyborg because that's another film a lot of people don't like, and I love Cyborg, especially the theatrical cut. I love Cyborg, so maybe that I'm just that kind of guy. That Cyborg I've heard for the longest time, oh yeah, there were problems and different cut. Then I saw the original cut and it was a bullshit cut. Because Albert Pion sucked directing that movie, at least his bullshit director's cut. Which I did a rant on that a long time ago and I sold that fucking director's cut. But he autographed. I don't give a fuck about his autograph. I actually got more money selling that than I did from buying it, so it actually worked out for the better. And I just I'm keeping my theatrical cut of Cyborg. But anyway, so maybe this could be also one of those instances that this is the better cut. But again, I'd be curious to see the footage. But or at least they could have put the making of from back in the day on here. But I know this is a long review, but fuck it, this film deserves a little bit of defending because the 3.7 is, I think, way too damn low for this movie. 3.7 is a bit harsh, in my opinion. 3.7 on IMDb is like... What are other movies that are like 3.7? Like fucking Ticker with Steven Seagal. Or... Which that's a crappy movie. Or... Like some of those other shitty Steven Seagal films like Attack Force. Where he throws a fucking grenade at a computer that supposedly stops a fucking thing going to the river. Or fucking that stupid vampire movie Steven Seagal was in. Against the Dark. That probably gets a higher rating than this, and this is a hell lot better than those movies. I'll take Exterminator 2 over most of the action films coming out today. Because I think it has a certain... has a certain appeal to me for it. But, yeah, I have fun with this movie. Lame commentary track. Needed a moderator. Should have gotten me to do it. And could have put the making of from back in the day. That would have been better than the shitty commentary track. But, which, again, offers, like, no info behind the scenes. Which is stupid. But hey, well, you know. That's why I don't get something with Shout Factory. There's certain movies that they do have a moderator with, then there's certain ones that they don't. And there's certain ones that they do put like a shitload of stuff, and there's ones like, well, off tangent, I love I Come in Peace. I think I Come in Peace is a bigger movie than The Dark Tower with George Romero, but The Dark Tower with George Romero, which I need to watch that film, because I only saw it once a long time ago, and I got that as a Christmas gift. That was one of the things I did get as a gift from a relative of mine. That has like shitload, but I think more people remember I Come in Peace, and that only has like one thing. But I don't know, I mean, I'm going off tangent about Shout Factory. So they're just inconsistent, but at least the film got released in a widescreen, and the picture looks fine. And I'm glad for that. I'm glad to own it as well, because I like the film. It's a fun movie. And again, I'm just discombobulated because at 3.7 I think it's too harsh. And if you don't like the film, that's fine. I just disagree. By the way, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you on the next video. Later.